If you put two kids in a room with one toy, you eventually have to teach them the basic rule of sharing. You take turns. It's the same system families use when they split time at a vacation cabin. It sounds like a simple solution for a playroom, but two of the largest nations in Europe use this exact same strategy to share a real piece of land. If you look at the border between France and Spain, you'll find a place called Pheasant Island sitting right in the middle of the Bidasoa River. There isn't much to see here. The island is completely uninhabited, covered in trees, and at just under 7,000 square meters, it's smaller than a professional soccer field. Despite its tiny size, it represents a unique border solution. Instead of trying to draw a line through the grass to divide the space, France and Spain decided to divide the time. This setup is known as a temporal condominium. Usually, a condominium is a territory where two nations rule together at the exact same time. But here, they split that shared ownership into 6-month shifts. This calendar shows the rotation. From February 1st through July 31st, the island is part of Spain. Then, on August 1st, control flips. France takes over until January 31st, and the cycle starts all over again. Twice a year, the national borders of France and Spain move, following a predictable, centuries-old schedule that has been in place since the 1600s. The reason for this timeshare goes back to 1659. France and Spain had just finished 24 years of brutal, exhausting warfare. They needed to negotiate a peace treaty, but they needed a neutral patch of ground where neither side felt like they were on the other's home turf. Pheasant Island was the perfect neutral meeting ground. This is where they signed the Treaty of the Pyrenees, which finally defined the modern border between the two empires. The island also served as a stage for royal diplomacy. Kings would meet here to exchange their children in marriage, using these royal weddings to make the peace between their countries permanent. These meetings were massive events. In 1660, King Louis XIV of France arrived at this tiny island with his entire court to meet his new Spanish bride and finalize the treaty. Sharing this island wasn't a quirk, it was a necessity. It allowed two rival superpowers to end a war without either side having to give up an inch of prestige. This raises a logical question. If they were already drawing a line down the middle of the river, why not just draw a line through the middle of the island? Physically, it just didn't make sense. The island is only 40 meters wide. Dividing that would leave both countries with a tiny, useless sliver of land that had no military or economic value. The timeshare was a diplomatic fix. By taking turns, both nations could claim the entire island as their own. No one had to look like the loser who gave up territory. Today, the arrangement is very low-key. Local naval commanders from both sides hold the honorary title of Viceroy of the island, while the actual daily work is handled by city employees from the nearby towns. Modern sovereignty over Pheasant Island mostly involves an international schedule for gardening and maintenance. It's a peaceful routine of mowing the grass and looking after the stone memorial. You can't actually visit the island today. It is closed to the public to keep the site protected and to maintain its status as a historical landmark. But twice a year, officials from France and Spain land on shore for a handover ceremony. They lower one flag and raise the other, a quiet ritual that has been repeated over 700 times since the treaty was first signed. Because the island doesn't have any oil, timber, or tax revenue, it focuses on its only real job, existing as a reminder of how cooperation actually works. For over 350 years, Pheasant Island has served as evidence that a bit of diplomatic creativity can outlast a century of war. Looking at the rest of the world, the picture is much more violent. Many regions are locked in bitter border disputes. While France and Spain found a bloodless way to share, other nations spend decades fighting over lines neither side is willing to move. It makes you wonder if the childhood logic of taking turns could be used to solve some of our most difficult adult arguments. What would the map look like if, instead of always trying to divide space, we occasionally tried to share time?